Okay.
All right, so we've got a smaller group, but anticipated. I know this this was a sort of last minute or a few days notice sort of a meeting. So thank you to Christy and Vicky for making it on. We chatted a little bit prior to getting the recording going, but realized there were some things coming up that I think everybody might find value in. So Christy's probably going to hang, and feel free to reflect, Christy, as we go. But Vicky had brought up just a question regarding the sort of flexibility within the storyboard. Do you want to dive into that a little bit more, and then I'll do what I can to help out?
Sure. I just was a little confused about, you know, the storyboard as a kind of visualization tool, and in various different solutions. Like we have a classroom solution. It's a kind of a lesson plan curriculum. And, you know, the storyboard a visualization of that would just be, you know, kids in a classroom with teachers, you know, having a small group or filling out a form or, you know, discussing with the teacher. I'm from a video background, and storyboards are always sequential and kind of take you from point A to point B. And it's kind of very chronological, but I'm understanding that in this instance, storyboards are really just a visualization of the solution. And I saw in some examples of people's work that it wasn't necessarily sequential. You know, there was a storyboard of a resource, and then a storyboard of an assessment, and then a storyboard of, you know, the website and how it looked, that kind of thing. So I just wanted to clarify about storyboards.
Yeah, so I think you're right. Like in the most traditional sense, and it's certainly the way I would like describe a storyboard would always be to go to video. That's like the most common use, and it is very sequential, and you're really just laying out, you know, down to the like shot one, fade to black, like really specific sequencing. But you're right. In this, because of the variety and the breadth, it introduces other challenges, and it's part of the struggle here is to allow for that flexibility and folks to go in their own unique direction with these solutions, but also learn the value of these core project components. And so I think you're right that storyboards in this broad sense of just sort of solution planning and instruction are to provide sort of this next layer of depth to understand these solutions ultimately, and give sort of one layer deeper of, you know, as a sort of quote unquote client looking at the solution design document. You know, if I only had sort of the objectives and a rough outline, it might be hard to really piece together what these things would ultimately look like. And so this is sort of the next step of providing some of that sort of focused look at what this might look like. So I was mentioning to Christy before we got rolling, but you know, the sort of the architecture of the information. So understanding, you know, when they're going to absorb different pieces of the solution. So that's why I think some folks focused on different pieces. It might have been assessment. It might have been some of the earlier sort of introductory sort of things. I'm okay. It was meant to be 30 minutes of interaction, so I'm okay kind of wherever people dove into that. But sort of an added layer of what that information looks like, and then just seeing the sort of alignment of another layer, another depth of seeing how the alignment plays out. So, oh yeah, here's the objectives we're trying to meet. You know, all the way through to here's what this instruction sort of on a more granular level might actually look like. But you're right. There's no way to sort of have a single traditional storyboard template that has, like, you know, just the sketch out of a shot and some details. Like that's just not going to make sense for a lot of these projects. So yeah.
My understanding of the storyboard was it was just supposed to be a sample of what we were presenting. I didn't even realize that there was supposed to be alignment to it until Holly added that. So that was...
Yeah, and there doesn't need to be like explicit alignment. I guess I should just say the storyboard it's still within the design document. And now we've outlined our objectives. So just to say that it is a part of that alignment, like we didn't just lay out the objectives, and then all of a sudden there was like this outline of what the solution would be on a more detailed level, but we couldn't connect it to like how it's achieving those objectives. So it has a little bit of alignment in itself, I think, as a sort of individual project, but also just does it align well with how the solution is being drafted sort of holistically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. And then the other question I had was, I feel like our project was kind of repetitive in that, you know, in the alignment section, we talk a lot about the objectives, and I don't know, you'll see it, but it's hard to describe here. But I feel like we have these two tables that really could have been married, but then it would have made the storyboard so long. So,
and I've taken a peek at a few, and I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, we cut a lot out of our original storyboard too when we posted.
Yeah.
You did.
And that's okay. I mean, ultimately, this I'll definitely, now that I know, like I have a pretty good sense for what each of these solutions now looks like I'll take it within the scope of the broader document.
Okay.
So I think it's okay that you're working towards having it sort of be cohesive within this. You know, it's another balance of like each of these are like individual project components, but obviously they're meant to come together as a whole into this fuller document. So I just started dipping into them and need to, the next couple of days I'll get into getting them graded, but yeah, I'll definitely sort of take into account how they fit into the broader solution.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. And just, you know, I mean, it felt very repetitive what some of the things we wrote, but yeah, that'd be great to get your comments.
Yeah.
In the document itself.
Because, I mean, this really, I mean, those some of these projects are I think a lot more real for some groups than others. It's still meant to sort of drive home certain points. So I think there's naturally going to be some redundancy that evolves as we go through this. And you're like, I kind of already hit that in this, but now I feel like we're doing it again. And that often just comes from sort of key, you know, pieces that are just important. And so they sort of resurface at different times.
Yeah.
So yeah, I still sort of view the course is meant to be sort of a playground and a hypothetical, even though some of the projects aren't necessarily that way, but that's probably the reasoning behind some of that redundancy, or at least that's the way I see it.
Okay, but in a real world project, you would clean that up a little bit, right? I mean,
sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. The other piece we can just touch on, looking ahead a little bit, unless there's anything else with the storyboard. I know they're kind of behind us, so but again, you're welcome to revisit it. I don't want anyone to hear this and be like, oh God, I got to redo the whole storyboard. Let's get through a round of some reflections and grading and things, but that's obviously an option. So anything else on the storyboards before we jump ahead a little bit?
Nope.
Okay. So yeah, then the evaluation plans I think are a little more. They'll have a little more structure because I've just gotten tied into this. I think the way that Kirkpatrick, it's some content we'll get into. So again, for those that haven't, don't worry about it. We're not quite there yet, but we're moving that direction quick. But that model lays out sort of 4 levels that are built into sound evaluation. And so that'll represent some structure behind some of these evaluation plans. There'll surely still be some range around how people approach assessment and evaluation, but that model is sort of a scaffold that helps. There's 4 levels of sort of evaluation that are built into that model, sort of moving from this simple to more complex. So at level 1, that's reaction. and basically just how are participants, do you have an evaluation method that's basically just getting feedback from participants on whether they're, enjoying this experience or not. So it could be a really simple survey of just like, are you enjoying your time spent, learning XYZ? So really just basic level 1 just getting reactive feedback. Level 2 being learning. So sort of the degree to which learners are acquiring specific skills or behaviors or attitudes, any of that. So you're actually measuring, the specific learning. They're clearly, skill set started here, went through the solution. We've moved that bar. That's sort of level 2. Level 3 is behavior, and that's more application. So to what degree, this isn't going to apply for everybody, but some of these solutions do have opportunities for learners to actually apply what they've learned. And so if that's the case, the evaluation would kind of be at that level 3 mark of, are they applying what they've learned, and to what degree are they able to demonstrate that they're applying it in an effective way. And then that level 3 and 4 sort of bridge together. Level 4 is results. And then that's really just tying it all the way back together to your objectives and saying, we have these targeted outcomes, and can we map the direct results sort of start to end, to say that those targeted outcomes were met, or, to what degree, are all objectives, were they definitely met or not? Anyway, so that's kind of the key piece behind the evaluation piece. There's other elements to it, but those 4 levels are sort of the key piece to key in on for that project that's coming. Anything else on evaluation, or do you guys feel okay about seeing how you might build out an evaluation plan of sorts, or at least maybe a component of an evaluation, whether it's just, like I said, a simple sort of poll or a survey of sorts, or all the way up to real clear demonstration of an application sort of process?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. And that, yeah, evaluation is as sort of boring as it can be. Like, it's kind of the part that a lot of times we are just like, oh, do we have to really do another survey? But it can be pretty fun. Like, you can get pretty creative in the ways you can evaluate, and there's almost no reason to build out a big solution like these without, in fact, I would say you just never should do it if you don't have that element, because otherwise there's no way to know whether you're being effective or not. Cool. Anything else? We can kind of move from here into really big, broad, anything else, vacation plans. We can go any direction, and then we'll probably end at the half-hour marker. So if you guys have anything else you want to dive into?
No, I was just on vacation actually last week. It was our vacation. So that was kind of interesting to do all this work and be on vacation. Oops. Sorry.
I did that when we did the learner personas. I was in Chicago.
Yeah, really? Oh.
Somebody should write a book of like how to like vacation and find free time well within graduate school. It's
I know.
it's really an art to like get to do it right. I don't think I ever quite got it right either, but that'd be an interesting read, I think.
Yeah, at least I didn't have to work, so that was it was definitely a vacation. It felt like a vacation anyway, so one less thing to do. Mm-hmm.
Got a break from one piece, yeah.
Yeah. Less computer time mainly. That was nice.
Yeah. Well, with less computer time in mind, thank you guys for doing this. I know it was a small group, but I think this will be useful, so I'm glad you guys made it on.
Okay, thank you.
And reach out if at any point there's any sort of early ambiguity on anything. I always want you to feel like default to reaching out first, as opposed to feeling like you're going down a long rabbit hole that where you may or may not like find your way back out. So start with reaching out. We can always connect early and try to clarify anything.
Okay.
Great. Thanks,
But,
Taylor.
Yep, and I gotta say, overall, like these projects are like that's not hyperbole. These are in a really good spot. I've seen a lot of these now in this group. I'm pretty impressed with sort of broadly how these are all looking. So good job,
Me
everybody.
too. Yeah, they look great.
Yeah. All right, we'll talk online. Thanks.
Great.
Bye.
Bye.